Hey everybody, welcome to the Post Movie Podcast. I'm Steve Head.
I'm John Black.
And welcome to the apartment.
Ta-da! Overlooking
the observatory.
The subway lines.
Yeah.
It's a tram when it comes above line, right? Above
beautiful
ground.
Washington Square. Man, it's like beautiful day out. Look at that. It's like
It's the pre-hurricane beauty.
Yeah, it's like Simpsons clouds out there. Really very nice.
This would be our this is our
looking out the window.
This is our special hurricane edition.
That's going to come in like what, 2 days?
Something like that.
I just got a phone call from my brother about, he lives, both of my brothers are in Baltimore right now, and they're buying all kinds of supplies and batteries, candles, things like that.
I just have a Bowie knife and a, gun.
I hope it hits, man. I hope it hits big. I love it. Just a
You ever have to cover one as a reporter? Were you ever
wake
a
of
reporter?
destruction.
Like a news reporter?
No, never in the sense that you were, like seriously at a newspaper.
Yeah, I covered
Never was done
Hurricane
online.
Bob. When, yeah, it was fun. I was on Cape Cod.
When was that? 92?
Yeah, something like that. They've been news reports on it, but I remember waiting at home for the eye of the hurricane to come by so we could race out and like take photos and interview people and then racing home.
Man, I remember. We got to get to talking about movies, but I will tell you
our favorite hurricane movies.
that it just like wiped all the trees from Hyannisport. There's a breakwater that extends from the Kennedy compound out into the Hyannisport Harbor, and it just broke the end of it in half. To this day, you can still see this maybe 20-foot gouge in the middle of these large concrete blocks in the breakwater.
I hear the breakwater is made of the bones of people who were opposed to Kennedys over the years, but that could be that could just be a rumor. Anyway, yeah, movies.
Yeah, you got me thinking about hurricane movies now.
No, there aren't many hurricane
Wizard of
movies.
Oz. Well, that was a tornado. That was a hurricane. That was a tornado.
Yeah,
whatever the difference is
all
between
good.
those. On this week's episode, we're going to talk about our idiot brother. Everybody has one.
Yeah. We'll make these reviews personal.
And we're also going to talk about Don't Be Afraid of the Dark. The Guillermo
del Toro.
Yes.
I think it means Willie the Bull.
Yeah.
Something like that. It's like Benicio del Toro is Benny the Bull.
Which comes out today.
Yeah.
Which wasn't as bad as I thought it was going to be.
Was it worse?
Well, I'll admit to you this. I found it entertaining. I mean, it worked at doing it was supposed to do. I got so many things I want to talk about, but I want to tell you that there was this guy sitting 2 seats away from me that lost his freaking shit. There's 2 good scares in this movie, and I swear to you, on the first one, I jumped. I felt like my scrotum was pulled through my eye sockets. I jumped like that. And then this guy on the second scare,
the image is still haunting me.
It was just,
the image of you having your scrotum pulled through your eyes is scarier than anything in that movie.
It's like, fuck, I mean, and then I get all embarrassed, like, shit, just fucking movie. I get mad at the movie when that happens. And then
damn you, movie! You did your job.
This second scare, there's a scene where these grotesque-looking fairies are in the bed of this young girl.
Yeah,
and they're under the sheets, and she pulls the sheets up, and the guy sitting to my right just lost his shit. I mean, it was like arms flailing. It was unintelligible. With our.
Come on, was it someone
enough to get the other people in the row in front of him to just laugh for the next minute or so?
You're not going to tell who it was, are you?
No, it was not a journalist. The only journalists at the screening were Bob Chipman, our buddy Bob, Dave Chen, and me. And Dave was very
calm,
bothered, as I was, by the number of people talking during the screening, but it was kind of like you couldn't do anything about it. It was super, super rude. These Spanish people behind us talking couldn't. This extends to another experience I had. Like I know we got to get into the movie review.
This is all part of the movie going experience.
This is part of This is our weekly adventures in movie going. For it is what it is. And Wednesday night I went to see Our Idiot Brother, and I'm sitting in the press section, and just before the movie starts, they let in the people who aren't press to fill in the empty seats of the press section. And a couple of girls sit down a seat away from me, and this one girl next to me, there's one open seat between us,
Right, right.
and then her. 45 minutes into the film, she's still using her cell phone. She's actively texting. And I ask her, I demand of her I asked her, are you, whispering, are you a member of the press? This is the press section where, you're not supposed to be twittering. Please turn your cell phone off. Just turn it off and stop using it.
Right.
And I was as forceful as that. And she went nuts. She turned to her girlfriend like, hey, this man just asked me to turn my cell phone off. You do not tell me what to do. You do not tell me what to do. And she kind of performed.
Yeah. She's the center of
for 30
attention
seconds.
now.
And I think she turned it off for 10 minutes, and then she went back to doing it. And then, Jim Vernier was sitting at the end. For people who listen to this, Jim's Vernier is the film critic for the Boston Herald here, and I don't want to bother him. He takes his movies seriously. I don't want. I'm stuck in the. I've got like 20 people on either side of me who I don't want to bother, and I don't know if they're being bothered by this woman. And then there's Jim down there, and there's only one exit, and I'm like, if I'm going to have this woman ejected from the theater, it's going to be a performance. It's going to be like they got to come in and extract her from the middle of things. So I put up with it for 45 minutes. And then with 5 minutes to go, she was texting in such a way that it was a performance in my face to prove to her that I could not tell her what to do.
That's right.
With her fucking cell phone. And I wanted to just like grab it and throw it.
But you can't.
She's
somehow
like,
that'd be your fault.
You do not tell me what to do. With the sister neck and all that kind of thing, the finger out and everything. It was exactly like Brett had said. You do not tell this, a woman to what to do with her cell phone.
Yeah.
Or they will go nuts.
Well,
that's what happened.
People go to the movies and they act like they're in their living room. And I
very,
when you go to the
very
theater,
rude and inconsiderate.
When you go to the live theater, they have ushers who will tell you to put that out or turn that off, or they'll have you ejected,
which is great.
And occasionally they used to have ushers. Remember, way back, kids. They used to have ushers in movie theaters too, with lights who would shine the light on you and tell you. Occasionally they have security at the press.
They'll have people
screenings.
come in and tell you to put your foot down off the banister, or in front of the.
I'm all
of the
for
bar
it.
in front. Yeah, me too.
I'm all for it.
Let me tell you this. I Facebooked it immediately after getting home, and I was pleased to get a lot of responses from my friends, journalist friends, and whatnot, and they had different stories and a couple different ways of solving the problem. So my objective yesterday was to go to management, not at Boston Common where this happened, but at Fenway where we had our screening of Don't Be Afraid of the Dark last night. So I spoke with management after the screening, and Lauren, one of the publicists, was there, and I spoke to her. And it turns out, informationally, there's two sets of rules for how to eject a person from a theater. And the first thing they asked me was this a regular screening? Because if it's a regular screening, then management at the theater will go in and take care of it.
Right.
The first time you complain, they'll go in and ask to, the person to stop. The second time, they will eject the person. But that's what management will do. So at the Fenway, and she was only speaking for Fenway, because the publicity company buys out the theater for the screening, the responsibility of doing that kind of ushering is handled by the people they hire to run the screening. So in this case, it would have been Lauren,
right?
Or what Warner Brothers sometimes they have these suited security guys that look mean, and they are the ones that you go to.
Right.
When you have a screening like that, they're the ones that you go to.
The good ones make an announcement before the screening starts that turn your cell phones off or you will be asked to leave.
Which we in Boston need to have happen.
Yeah.
We need to have this announcement before these promo screenings. There has to be a very clear and forceful announcement that you have to turn your phones off.
Right.
And I wouldn't even mind them telling the audience that there are journalists at this screening, and if they at our discretion, if we decide to that this is causing a problem, we can go to the publicist and ask to have these people removed. So I'm not against them knowing that there are journalists reporting on this screening.
Well, I just think the onus shouldn't be put on us. It should be the theater, and they should be policing the screenings. You know, it shouldn't,
Well, I guess
because you make
technically
yourself
it's
a target. If this woman is there, you know, she's already a psycho texting in the movie. In my books,
freaking believable.
You get up and talk to management, and then she gets yelled at. She knows you did it.
Yeah,
You know,
there's
and it's
also
just causing
this
trouble that-
aftermath thought, like,
Yeah.
they handle it as much as it's within the screening, but there's nothing stopping, like I'm not
Trouble
worried
following
about
you
like
home.
trouble following me home.
Yeah.
Like a couple weeks ago with the screening of Cowboys and Aliens, the two very large black guys who didn't have the guts to tell them to stop talking. In my mind, I'm thinking, oh, this would follow me home.
Yeah.
Or the screening of Fright Night last week. If I had asked the rude gentleman who was talking at the screen for much of the film to can it, that would have been a problem. And it's also like I could be more polite. There's also that tact. But another thing that the management told me, and we will get to talking about movies here, is that they have theater checkers at Fenway that go into the theaters, and the theater checkers also do bouncing. So
Right,
I said,
right.
how would I know a theater checker if I saw one?
Right.
I don't
And the
know.
thing is, how many screens are there? 19, 20?
Well, yeah, it's different at the
They probably
Common
have
because
one
you have
guy-
to. They don't have a centralized desk like they do at Fenway, but
Right.
But I'm going to get this. I swear, I am going to get this protocol down. I'm going to be like
Yeah,
once, twice out, and I'm not going to care. You will be ejected from the film.
Well,
or this person,
that's
whoever
good, but
does this annoying texting and receiving of texts and phone calls during
Yeah.
the freaking movie.
No, the thing is, and I'll stand by this, I think, following protocol is one thing, but it's really up to the theater or the allied, whoever's hosting the screening, if that's the situation. They're the ones who should have people, because when something happens in you're in theater 16 at Fenway and something happens, the film breaks or something goes wrong.
You're very far away from.
It's
the
like,
manager.
I said it before. It's like you're a scene from the Omega Man. You walk out, there's no one there. And it's a 5-minute walk
Right,
to
it's
get
very
to
different
the desk.
at Fenway because they have a centralized desk
Yeah,
where the
but
manager
still,
is.
again, if you're in the big house, it's still going to take you 3-4 minutes to get to the place. and-
Right. Well, Ed Simkis mentioned it on Facebook, and he said, "Steve, just do it. Just take the couple of minutes it's going to take. Probably the Common is going to take more than a few minutes." But,
Yeah.
And I said to the management that you're really going to go in the middle of 30 people on either side and get these people out, and they will.
Yeah.
And I feel horrible that it may disrupt the viewing experience for other people who aren't being affected by the light of this
right.
idiot on their phone. Have you ever had this happen? An
I
altercation?
see people that, they open their cell phone. They don't realize that the light from a cell phone in the darker movie just blinds you.
They don't get
It's
it.
just annoying as hell. And plus, it's just good manners. You're not home. You're not on your couch watching the movie and talking to your buddies and, talking on your phone or anything else. You can't stop and pause the movie when something happens for you. It's not your house.
People
You're a
treat it as
guest.
such.
And just because you
It's
paid your $9 for a ticket doesn't mean you can sit there and be a rude
Some
motherfucker.
people are just so egotistical and self-centered, and
Which
just,
I'm all-
whatever.
I
just
am.
decided to put up with it.
Yeah. I'm rude, I'm egotistical.
John, by the way,
Yes.
on this episode, we're going to talk about
Movies?
our idiot brother.
Do you want to? Since we
And-
already started,
and
don't be afraid of the dark.
Yeah, let's do Don't Be Afraid of the Dark.
Because I thought it was a horrible movie.
Did it
was
not
such
have
a-
any redeeming
no
quality?
I was bored. I don't know where you found 2 scares in it.
The scares involve the revealing of these
Muppets. Those
long-legged mice
tattered-
type. Well,
tattered
they're
looking-
actually fairies.
Yeah, well, they're actually
But,
badly animated. I thought they were ridiculous. I laughed the first time I saw them. I was like, "Come on, that's it."
Well,
The only creepy part was in the
yeah.
beginning, before you see them all, and then the back in the 1800s,
Yeah,
that kind of thing. When you find out they collect
100
teeth,
years ago.
that's a little creepy. But then it's just like, oh my god, she's afraid of these. They look like
Hunchback, long-legged mice.
yeah, but
Creepy.
badly rendered.
Well, so the story is that Guy Pearce has got a new girlfriend. He looks like he's languishing in this film.
Man, why is
Anyway.
he even in it? He doesn't do anything. He's a very talented dude.
Okay, this is so he's divorced and he has a new younger girlfriend who I don't know, she's not maybe not that much younger. Katie Holmes, looking great. She's growing into her pudge,
You wish you
and they
grown
have a
into your
daughter.
pudge.
Her daughter, his name I don't have here, but She's really good. Her performance kind of reminded me of Drew Barrymore in Cat's Eye. I digged it. They move into this mansion that he's basically invested his life in. And, it's a, upper middle class suburban.
In Rhode Island.
In Rhode Island.
This must be
That's right. The
Yeah,
story
it's Rhode
begins at
Island.
T.F. Green Airport. And,
and they
it's
have
Providence.
Police. This isn't in Providence.
Yeah. Oh, and Guillermo del Toro was on the plane. He was sitting behind the
Was he?
family. Yeah, he was there. Just kind of appearing like Peter Jackson might appear.
Or Hitchcocky. It's very Hitchcockian of him.
Right. So they move into the house, the very place where we saw this woman brutally
Defanged.
detoothed. And it's like this house that it seems rather normal, except for the fact that it has a very gothic-looking door that leads to the basement with all these wood carving, like snake-like wood carvings all over the door, and then this really gothic basement that has a it's not like a basement that you open the door and you walk down and it's just a four-wall dirty walls.
Snow shovels.
No, this is like a
skis,
basement where you might revive Frankenstein.
Yeah.
This is something of like something
And this movie
scientific.
movie even has a creepy groundskeeper who knows all the secrets. Come on.
Haven't we seen that before?
No, I've never seen any of this.
He knows all the secrets, but he's not going to reveal.
Right, until the secrets beat
and
the
you'd
shit
think
out
the
of him.
maid would have known something too. They have a live-in maid that doesn't really serve
they
a
don't-
purpose
they're not-
except to participate in child neglect when it comes to taking a bath.
Yes, this is a cautionary tale about child neglect and bad dentistry. But when I needed a creep factor here. I needed more than it's got the most obvious spooky music. It's like, ooh, here comes spooky music time. And
I actually liked Marco Beltrami's score. I did like that.
yeah, for spooky music.
I felt that scores get dissed these days. They just don't have enough
ones?
prominence. They aren't allowed to breathe over the activity and the dialogue and the sound effects that are going on in the film. And this movie kind of let the score breathe a little, which I thought was cool. So I credit it.
Okay, I don't really pay attention too much except when I know it's being annoying.
I collect movie soundtracks.
It's okay. I know you do. I know you. These things are important.
This Jaws
But
sitting behind you.
the movie just was so boring to me. I kept wondering what Guy Pearce was doing here. I kept waiting for Katie Holmes to do something, and she really doesn't. The little kid, yes, she's a creepy little kid, but she's always a creepy little kid. Even when she's supposed to be happy
It's
in the
a
movie,
good performance.
she's creepy. She's a one-note creepy little kid.
Huh?
And then by the time they drag out the moth-eaten old Muppet things, I'm just cracking up. I was just laughing.
Here, I've just
Uh-oh.
putting the freaking list down.
For those of you who aren't familiar with that
Like
sound,
creepy
that's the
like that.
crinkling of a newspaper.
It's called the New York Times, people.
Ah,
Directed by Trey. You see, the Times is great. They have the review, but then they have all the capsule information right there. And since my printer's on the fritz right now, it's like, goodness.
so what'd you learn?
Well, I learned that the kid's name is Bailey Madison. I kind of knew that.
Yeah.
But I can't, I'm not an encyclopedia. I'm not a computer. I can't remember these things.
And you're
right?
not
And she's
obviously a
really
Bailey
good
Madison fan. Or you,
I think it's an okay movie, and I thought for this kid she did a really good job.
okay.
But you have to let yourself surrender to the goofiness that movie because this parts of it are just plain bad.
Well, here's the thing.
It flounders.
The little girl always
it's
ends up
just-
alone with these things, so no one believes they exist. So she's trapped in the
it's like-
library,
John,
right?
it's part of this. The why it's bad is because it's aggravating. It's like smart fairies, dumb people.
Right. But there's a scene, and I don't care if this spoils it or not. There's a scene in the library where she's alone during a big dinner party. The girl gets alone, trapped in the library with these little Muppets, and
These things
they start
that
tearing
have been
apart the
going
library.
on, and she can't convince her parents that these things exist. These
Right.
little muskrat fairy things that she released because they were calling to her through the grate of the furnace in the basement. Let us out. And so.
But here's the thing: that she's fighting with him. She fights back because she's got a Polaroid camera.
Which I think has been discontinued, and I can say this as an employee of Polaroid.
Yeah.
I believe that model of cameras, they no longer make that
No,
film.
they
don't make that
stopped
film.
making them years ago.
And I'm like, why don't they have a fucking iPod or a video camera?
Because
you
they
can just
wouldn't-
catch it.
Yeah, it would still
You
have
know?
the same flash, but not the instant
but I think,
photo.
but I think the way they set it up in the film is that immediately when I saw the Polaroid cameras, I
Yeah.
think the person that I guess Guy Pearce's Alex, I guess he was a collector of this kind of stuff. So he has a shelf in his office of the different Polaroid,
He does?
classic Polaroid cameras.
I didn't see that.
Just dusted. They're shining. They're brand new. I used to work in the Polaroid learning department, and it was about as a camera person. I was teaching Polaroid salesmen how to use the product. This was 15 years ago, and I did it for a year or so. And so I became very familiar with the mechanics of this camera.
Right.
So they set it up, I guess, by just by that shot that she would. Maybe she doesn't have access, obviously, to their parents' iPod or her or anything like that, any video camera. So she uses the Polaroids that are in her father's office. Number one, they don't make that film anymore. And number two, that the mechanics of these cameras, they're old. It doesn't spit out the photos as quickly as. Or I guess maybe would they still work after 15, 20 years? These cameras were 20-something years old. They looked
film would
even
be
from the
20 years
70s.
old.
I guess it would be. Well,
How
one
long's the
thing she
film
did do
last?
correctly. Okay, so remember during the dinner table scene when she's trying to take a photo. She has a photo that she's
Right.
taken of one of these things. It's with its face. I think she took it during that bed scene.
Yeah.
She got it which was a big scare. The thing was
To
at the
you.
bottom of the bed. Oh yeah, it was a. Well, not to me, to that other guy.
Yeah.
It was a
that
full
wasn't the one that made you scream like a girl?
No, that other guy. It was a full body fuck up. I mean, his scrotum went through his eyes. He just jumped.
That,
like mother.
stop that image. It's disturbing.
So what she did was actually a lot of people don't know this about Polaroid cameras is that the development of the photo actually responds very well to body heat. So after you take a Polaroid photo, which in a way it's kind of good that she had the larger, the Polaroid photo is actually an image that's larger than what you will get with an iPod, is that you can put it in your shirt or put it up against your skin, and the body heat actually affects the development process of the photo.
Uh-huh.
It will it'll give it something of a reddish tinge, but it'll give it a truer color, and develop faster. So there's a scene where she's sitting at the table and she actually does. She's hiding the photo because she puts it to one side and one of the guests at the table sees it. She puts it to the other, and another guest. It's kind of funny. But then she puts it under her leg while she's sitting on the seat, which actually helped the development of the photo. So maybe the director knew something.
No.
Anyway.
But here's now. Stop and rewind back to my
All right.
point when she's in the library fighting these things. The libraries have a sliding panel.
Back to that. Sorry about the 5
That's right.
minute.
It's okay for Polaroid is sponsoring this podcast. When they've
Still
got
in
these
business
sliding
now.
bookcases,
Yeah.
that Katie Holmes rides, or
Which they
"Wee,
revealed
wanna
at the
do this,
end.
wee?" So she smashes one of these creatures between two bookshelves.
It's a green slime.
Right. The arm of the creature goes flying off and lands on the carpet in frame.
But nobody sees it.
Nobody sees it. Nobody sees
Nobody
it.
sees the scum on the wall.
No one sees the Muppet blood on the wall. They don't see the twitching arm on the floor. They all say, "What's wrong with
Oblivious.
you, little girl?" All she has to do is point to the Muppet guts, and they could say, "Hey, there's something." They don't magically
This
disappear.
movie drowns in just logic and frustrations.
Oh my God, it's laughable. I mean, come on. They're so obviously not paying attention to this kid, so they can stretch it out to 90 minutes because she could solve the mystery in 10. Just by saying, but no one believes her because she's on meds and her, the kid's on meds.
So I guess who becomes hip to it? Was it Katie Holmes? She goes to the library and she discovers these files that
Yeah, because
were,
the house was owned by a famous nature painter or something, and she goes to the library, and believe me, that library does not exist in Rhode Island. She goes to I'm from Rhode Island. There,
and they
I
have all
admitted
these
it.
paintings. And then they even go so far as to ask her about the mural in the basement, which is eventually revealed. Which
What
is basically
mural? There's a mural?
You remove this crap in the basement, and there's like a child hanging over all these grotesque arms, ready
And they
to, like,
still
pull
don't
you
get
down
it.
to hell.
They're like, "Oh, that's interesting."
That doesn't strike a
The man's a
chord
nature
with-
painter.
Yeah.
And
She's
so
like-
he paints something like this, and like, oh, he went crazy.
she's John. She's an interior designer,
yeah.
and you don't think, wait a sec, that's pretty fucked up. Or do you think maybe we can match this with the rest of the house?
Yeah, yeah. I've got some swatches that go perfectly with that
She
pallor.
was
on that,
swatching about 10 minutes in.
Yeah, she's swatching all right, whatever that means. But the
Miss
whole
Katie
there's
Holmes.
just so many.
God.
No, I don't have anything against her.
The
but the movie
idea
gives her
is
nothing
the
to
idea
do.
is fun. She's in the movie. She probably gets tons of movie offers, but yet she chooses this one because it's kind of messed up, fun.
Really?
You're looking at me like, yeah. Okay.
No, I just didn't. I
Don't go
didn't
down that
see it
road.
because I was just bored by the whole thing, and like I said, I was laughing at the creatures, and if I'm spending all my time wondering, what deal with the devil did someone make for Guy Pearce to be?
It's
in this
something
movie?
about like they need the teeth. The fairies need the teeth in order to regenerate, in order to perpetuate their own. They need,
Teeth.
yeah, or children, something like
Yeah.
that.
Children's
And it's this give and take, I guess. But the teeth end up under the pillow.
Yeah, and she gets, that's the other thing. She finds this massive silver coin that the fairies have left under a pillow, and no one sees that as, oh, where'd you get this?
Well, right.
You must have
They
gotten
leave
it from
the coin. I'm sorry, the coin
Yeah.
under the pillow, which is sort of the tooth fairy myth.
Yeah, but it's another enticement to get the girl to, fall down their
the movie-
alimentary canal of a home. Does that look
Constructurally,
like
it's
a pooter?
it's constructually it's well made, and they do kind of take advantage of the old tried and true scare moments where they go for the scare. People in the vulnerable places in the house. The bed, the bath. There's the bath attacks. Where people at their most vulnerable. Yeah, I guess in the basement. It's like take the creepy places of a house and we'll have the shit happen there.
Yeah, but again, it's just. When all right, so the little girl, this traumatized little girl is sent to take a bath by herself.
By herself,
And so she's in the bath. and you
closed
see-
door,
You see
under
these-
no
these-
supervision.
Right. And so you see this coat hanger come out from the hiding place where these Muppets are to turn off the lights. I was howling. It was just so stupid. So stupid.
Okay.
So,
Yeah, I think it's a video rental.
and this is a first time director, and I really have a feeling he worked under Billy the Bull's heavy thumb here to make it's just-
There's a couple of good scares, but the fucking door to the basement, man, is like
warning.
no one's thinking this is creepy.
No.
I mean it's just
Because every time they show a shot of the creepy door, the creepy music plays a little louder. Yeah,
even to an interior designer,
you know,
not creepy.
she's not a very good interior designer, I guess, And this whole thing is that they're going to get this house in Architectural Digest and be perfect. That's going to solve their life. They're going to be the cover because they made a house look so pretty that no one notices the squished Muppet guts in the bookshelf.
Slime.
Slime. And the thing
Sliding
does explode. I mean, it just gets hit.
It does.
This creature
You really
explodes.
could take a number of them out. They
Yeah,
pop
no.
like water balloons.
But that would have been funny. But then, no one sees it. They just all, oh, it's our crazy little girl. Give her some more meds. Give me some meds. I think this is going to die a quick death at the box office.
Nick Nunziata, the associate producer on the film, he's the co-creator. Or no, he's creator, not co-creator. He's the creator of Chud.
Cannibalistic underground
Yeah, a website
dwellers?
that is, they have great news, but it's not. It doesn't exactly instill one with a feeling of positivity.
I would
It's
sit through
kind
Chud,
of a negative place.
Chud 2.
Yes.
10
Well,
times rather than see this.
he's created a website. It's been around for 10 years. Good for him. He did post something on Facebook, or was it via Twitter? I don't know. He said that the film's reception has been a sort of I'm paraphrasing, a sifter between for him as far as who his real friends are.
Friends.
Yeah. In other
friends
words,
got
it's
to
like
do
if
with
you
it?
like this movie and you were his friend before, then you're still his friend. If you diss it, then he said these people are dead to me.
Yeah, well, meet his career when you're down
Yikes!
there.
Don't try not to be influenced by that. Just try to keep an open mind and review the film what it is.
I will gladly Facebook him just to tell him how. I'll send him my review, and then I can defriend him moments later. That would be fine with me. He's dead to me too.
It is personal. It becomes personal. Hollywood is personal, man.
I don't see that. Personally, I thought this movie sucked. That's as far as it goes.
Moving
All
on.
right, let's move on.
Our idiot brother.
Now the stare down between Steve
well,
and I.
it's
Did
like,
you like it?
it's
Did you
really,
not
it's
like
like
it?
our idiot brother and our off the wall sisters.
Yeah, 3 of my favorite actresses.
They are good.
You know,
I liked them.
Emily Mortimer, Zoe Deschanel, and that third one, whose name I can never remember. Wait, don't you have the New York Times?
Elizabeth
over there?
Banks.
Elizabeth Banks.
And I did that without looking at the
I
New
know.
York Times.
3 of my favorites. Love looking at them. Love watching them act. And I like this movie.
I did too. I thought it had a really pleasing, fun atmosphere, despite the woman sitting, a seat over. I laughed.
Yeah.
It was genuinely funny. Paul Rudd has this just quality. He kind of has this Jesus quality about him in this. He plays like
with the long hair and beard.
yeah, just super, super nice guy. Nicest guy. But to a fault, he is incisively truthful.
Mm-hmm.
But he only means well. you
Yeah,
know?
yeah.
Except for the mistake that he makes at the beginning of the film when he's selling, he's at a farmer's market and he sells pot to a uniformed police
Yeah,
officer.
a uniformed
Or,
cop.
they thought we were just they thought they were just communicating.
I could really use
with
some
a forget
help,
the uniform and everything.
Yeah, we're
It's
just people, and I
guys
had a
and
really
guys,
bad day. I understand, man.
Symbols. Yeah.
And then he gets out of his prison early because he was that good a prisoner. Just that nice a guy.
Yeah.
And few actors could pull it off
Just
the
a
way
moron.
Rudd does.
Just-
So nice.
He is happy-go-lucky.
Yeah.
He is a happy-go-lucky guy. This is like a male version of the Mike Leigh character in
Yep.
Happy-Go-Lucky. And, but in this case, he's just not a smart happy-go-lucky guy.
No.
The bull walking through the china shop, the stuff,
Yeah, he has no sense of the
Falls
world
around.
around him outside his happy attitude.
Hmm.
And it just keeps getting him into trouble.
So, John, he goes from prison back to the farm to go get his dog, Willie Nelson. And his ex-girlfriend is now shacking up with another fella.
Another hippie.
Yeah, just almost
Just as nice,
dumb.
but almost twice as dumb. Yeah.
Yeah. The actor's name I can't remember.
JT
JT Miller.
yeah.
Right. I like this guy.
Oh, yeah.
He was
yeah.
he was in
Yogi Bear.
was he Yogi Bear?
Yeah.
I
He was
didn't see
assistant
that.
ranger in Yogi Bear.
Well, I immediately think of he had a small part in Mike Judge's Extract. Jason Bateman. Not a great film, but the supporting parts in that role were great, and he played the metalhead factory
yeah,
worker.
okay.
He was great in that. He was also the guy that participated in unleashing the train in Unstoppable.
Right.
One of the
He plays
fucked that up.
that kind of. But here he's just this. Again, he's one of these hippies working on an organic farm. One of these happy-go-lucky guys who's like,
Just a nice
hey,
guy.
whatever, man.
Yeah.
But he also the whole movie, that attitude seems to have that ring of truth too, because he does the right thing at the end too.
Yeah. Yeah, it's about guys doing the
but-
right thing. So Paul Rudd's character goes from one prison to the next. He ends up having to bunk at his sister's place, and he gets a gig schlepping on his brother-in-law's documentary.
The wonderful
just doing,
Steve Coogan.
production assistant stuff. But he's also living in this prison because he has to, he's taking care of their son who's like 6 or 7,
Play
and
by
he's
their
sleeping in the
rules.
kids' room, and so you got to play by their rules, and
Which
be
he
in bed by
constantly
10.
breaks
It's just,
because
yeah.
they don't want him to see violent movies. He goes, well, Pink Panther's not violent, and then they act out
It's a good
scenes
introduction to
from
Pink Panther.
Pink Panther, and the kid gets injured.
But Steve Coogan's such a jerk, and so
But he's a great jerk. I mean,
yeah.
when I don't know if we I interviewed the director when he was in town,
No, I didn't.
and he was talking about how he got a call from his agent saying Steve Coogan wanted to talk to him about the movie. He was like, why does he want to be in this? Why does he want to be in this little movie?
I just motioned to John be closer to the.
And
Yeah,
so
yeah.
he meets with Steve Coogan, and this is like their first meeting. Coogan's already memorized the part. He goes, "Do you want me to play it as an American or an Englishman?" He goes, "I don't know." So he does it both ways. So they decide it's going to be a British guy who doesn't like Americans.
Yeah,
But
he didn't.
there's a scene in the movie where Steve Coogan is
Copy
caught
accent.
cheating on his wife
with Tatiana.
with Tatiana, and Steve Coogan is naked,
Yeah.
covering himself with his hands. But then he turns around to bend over and pick something up, and there's nothing hidden. And that's all Coogan's idea.
He's just a scumbag.
Well,
this guy.
he did the scene. He said the first time he did the scene, he just did it with his hands on his hips and his gentleman parts hanging out in the breeze. And they were like, no, this will be funnier if I cover up and then turn around and just show him my balls. And that's what he does.
And the whole
Just the fact
crowd,
that
the
he
audience
thinks-
went, whoa.
Everyone does. Just to think that Coogan thinks this out and goes, no, it's funnier if I bend over and show my balls.
Yeah.
That's a bigger punchline. I just find that
During
a
this
terrific
scene,
story.
Paul Rudd is down in the car
Yeah.
thinking that Coogan's up there doing an interview. And so the tow truck comes up to the car, and Ned, his character, doesn't have the keys, so he has to go up and get the keys from Steve Coogan, and that's
Yeah.
where he barges in on the two, naked. And then so Coogan is backtracking, stammering, and he basically says something like, sometimes you have to get naked with your interview subjects so that you can extract truths.
That's happened to us, right? Yeah.
So,
Truthfully, put
Ned
your clothes
believes
back
it.
on. That's
So,
what they would say to me.
The other two parallel stories, really quickly, is Zoe Deschanel, his sister, is in a gay relationship with Rashida Jones.
Yeah.
But she is longing to be with Hugh Dancy, who's kind of this...
Wasn't you dancing with it?
Yeah, it was Hugh Dancy.
Really?
He's playing this goofball artist fella.
We sure about
And
that?
she just swoons every time she is in this guy's presence. Is very funny. So the other thing is that Elizabeth Banks is trying to get a story on God, what's that story she's trying to write?
Oh, she's
And
trying
she
to
it
get
in
a story for Vanity Fair about
Vanity
some
Fair. Socialite.
heiress or socialite that won't talk to the press. But of course, she tells the idiot brother Ned everything because
Right.
he's such a nice guy.
Right. So his thing is that he is so truthful that he destroys each of his sister's current living circumstances, destroys them. So it's about him, this principle of truth that he doesn't even know how truthful he is. He just goes for it, destroying other people's lives, and then they rebuild themselves, basically. And he's got he's got a very understanding mom.
He
You've always
does.
got a place to.
He
got a
goes back.
place to
Yeah,
live.
I love it when
If
they
the
show
shit
guys
goes down,
going,
you still have a place to return to.
going back to your boyhood home, and your boyhood posters are still on the wall, and
Yeah, that's right.
Come
God,
on.
he had Peter Sellers on the wall. What else did he have up there?
It's not my boyhood. I don't know.
Hadn't changed.
As funny as I thought this movie was, there's a scene where the three sisters tear into each other.
Yeah, they're good.
And
Very good.
it was just so good to see my three favorite actors have that dramatic moment in the movie where they just really cut to the bone.
What was that? That was the game night.
No, they
scene.
were. Was it a
it
birthday party?
something like that?
They
where
were around the
supposed
kitchen
to,
table, and two of them know that Emily Mortimer plays Steve Coogan's husband, and two of them know that.
Oh, right. Where
that
they
he's
they
been
lay
cheating.
into her about.
Yeah, but then as soon as they snap at
she
one,
needs to get.
the bullets start to fly between the three of them. Like,
Right.
oh yeah, and you're pregnant, and your husband's cheating. And
Oh,
you're
right.
sucking.
That's right.
All the truths come out,
Zoe Deschanel,
and they all
pregnant.
they go through all this anger and resentment and regret, and then they all target it on Ned because he's really the source for all their truths coming out.
Right, but he's also
He's not an
the
idiot.
guy that forced them to change.
Yeah,
For the better. It's a very funny film.
yeah. It's a lot smarter than the title would let you believe. And again, good performances. I liked it a lot. Yeah, it was fun. It was a good time. It's a pleasant surprise.
He's like the holy moron,
Yeah.
lovable moron. Yeah. Hey, picks of the week.
Yes.
Want to do it?
Sure.
John, go for it. What do you got?
My first is this movie called Blitz, directed by Elliot Lester, but it's a Jason Statham
Lester.
film that only I guess it only played in London. I don't think it hit theaters around here, but usually we think of Jason Statham movies, action. He's got
The guy is prolific.
yeah, but here,
I mean, it's not him. It's just that he just keeps taking work and work and work and.
but this one's different. There is some action, but it's a story about this serial killer who kills cops, played by Aidan Gillen, who's really good. And so Jason Statham is this cop who is trying to solve the case, and he's teamed up with a new head police, whatever the British equivalent of police chief is, played by Paddy Considine, who's openly gay. So
Inspector,
it's
constable.
yeah, constable, something like that. So it's really a police procedural about tracking this guy down. There are some action scenes. But Statham's good performances. It's more drama and character driven than most of his stuff is. You get to see him actually perform here rather than just beat the shit out of everyone, which is what he does in most of his movies. They give him a few good lines and then he starts beating the shit out of everyone. So a pleasant surprise. I like his work anyway, but this one had a lot more meat to it than you usually find in his American movies. So I highly recommend it.
Blitz. Hadn't heard of it before. Hey, on the British end, the BBC sent along a copy of Top Gear 16, which I dig.
Yeah.
I dig Cop Gear.
How can you not?
Cop Gear. I just said Cop
Yeah,
Gear.
you did.
I just love handcuffs and
You're dressed as a cop
guns
right
and
now, yeah.
little black flashlights you can
Yeah.
shine in people's
Don't
eyes.
mistake him for a stripper when he shows up at your house. It's Steve in his cop gear.
This
Top Gear.
season 16, which I was kind of amazed. I didn't know that they'd gone 16 seasons. You said that you'd seen season 1?
Yeah, if on Netflix, I have Netflix on, where you can get it on demand, and you can put if you put the Top Gear, you get series from the start when they were just young puppies. But they do such incredible. It's such a boy show. It's such a boy show. It's like every.
By boy, we don't mean like Logo Channel.
No, definitely not. But this is, it is the single most expensive series the BBC has ever done. And you
Really?
can see why, because they come up with ideas like, all right, you get in a plane, I'll get in a super fast car, and let's see who can get from Rome to London fastest.
Yeah.
Or, a bullet train versus a car in Japan or stuff like that. It's crazy stunts. And they're always getting the wildest cars. I'm not sure what they do in season 16, but...
They have celebrities in moderately priced vehicles with Simon Pegg and Nick Frost.
Yeah. That was a pretty funny one. And they go around a test track in like you said, a moderately priced car. So I would recommend seeing
New on Blu-ray from the BBC. Also, I want to recommend Akira Kurosawa's High and Low, which has been released by the Criterion Collection. It was a revelation, for lack of a better way to put it. This is one hell of a movie. It's a long one. It's 143 minutes, but it's... Kurosawa based this one on a novel by Ed McBain, and it's about a shoemaker, a guy who runs a fashionable shoe company in Tokyo, who is on the verge of making a very, very big deal, but it sort of hinges on like him making peace with these other guys at the company that want to make cheap shoes at a higher price, but he wants to keep on I'm going to pronounce his name wrong again, and even though Toshiro Mifune.
That's right.
He wants to continue to make, well-made shoes at a moderate price. The base of, how the company made its fortune. Just keep on doing that. So on the verge of this, on the night of this big deal where he's going to buy out the rest of the stock in the company, for some reason, his child is kidnapped. And it turns out that the kidnapper made a mistake. The kidnapper kidnapped his chauffeur's child. Not his child. So pursuing this matter all of a sudden becomes a moral question. Are you going to meet the kidnapper's $3 million demand? Something like that. Or, take the money, use it to put it back in the company, make more money. And so the first half of the movie literally takes place in an apartment, and a neatly well-built apartment set where Kurosawa does these amazing camera film moves, and it's a beautiful set. The disc also contains a neat making of feature on the detail that went into making that set, plus all the miniatures outside the window. And then the second half of the movie is tracking the kidnapper, which is a neat also procedural that actually takes place on a bullet train for some of the film, and then in some of the seedier areas of Tokyo. And it's very different for me, particularly my impression of Kurosawa is, having
samurais,
samurais and whatnot. But this is
that's what I like.
It's a contemporary thriller.
Yeah, I like
really good.
because I think a lot of people, their first exposure to Kurosawa is Seven Samurai, Rashomon, all the Japanese samurai flicks, which are good. They're great,
they're
but
good.
Then I'm my kind of samurai
okay.
movie. I prefer the
that was
samurai
the
movie.
worst mocking voice I think I've ever.
Yeah, I'm not that used.
I've ever.
Yeah, they're all right.
I tried to. Be.
I like the Shaw Brothers Samurais movies. It's just blood and guts. But I don't like the intellectual samurai films too much. But anyway, I like
High and low.
I like his movies like this that
Yeah.
take place or present day at the time, 1950s or whatever. I prefer those.
It's a neat film. It's
yeah.
new on Blu-ray from Criterion. Definitely check it out. I also watched some of If. The
Some
Malcolm
of
Mc-
it.
You know, let's talk about this at another time because
Yeah,
it's a longer
finish it.
conversation.
It's a great
It's
movie.
just that the first time I watched it, I fell asleep, and it was not intentional. It didn't have anything to do with the movie. I was
Good.
just long day.
All right, my second recommendation is a new Jackie Chan movie, which didn't play in American theaters.
Oh.
And it's fascinating because Jackie Chan has two careers. He has the American career where he does everything from Rush Hour to the Spy Next Door, that crappy babysitter movie. But then in Japan,
He was originally going to
China-
do the pacifier. And the pacifier, he liked that idea, and that's actually kind of what became Spy Next Door.
Yikes! But in China, he makes these epic. This is a period piece epic about. He's a soldier, a reluctant soldier. He's a farmer who gets drafted into the army, and he ends up kidnapping the enemy general and trying to bring him back to his village for ransom that he hopes will set him up in a farm. The fight scenes are good. It's always well choreographed Jackie Chan fight stuff. Not as silly as some of his stuff gets in a lot of his films. It's more like straight ahead action. But good story. He gives a good performance.
It's just the amazing Jackie Chan, not the goofball.
Right. This is why I enjoy his movies so much. It's stuff like this. Plus, because it's a Jackie Chan production made in China, he also, of course, sings on the soundtrack and there's a music video. And that always cracks me up. And do yourself a favor, even if you're not a fan of subtitles like sometimes I complain about, don't watch the dubbed version because it's not Jackie Chan who's dubbing the voice. And to see Jackie Chan with another guy's voice coming out ruins it. So hear him speak, Chinese and read the subtitles. You won't miss anything. Again,
Little Big Soldier.
Little Big Soldier, good recommendation.
Man, a couple of announcements. The Beaver is coming out on Blu-ray, which I think we digged.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
if
it's
you
a
haven't
lot-
checked it out, check out our
Get
Jodie
over
Foster interview.
get over the whole Mel Gibson thing and watch the movie. He gives
Oh,
a good
man.
performance. It's an intense story. I liked it.
I'd intended to discuss or a little bit talk about Chasing Madoff, and which is a documentary that comes out. It's
Today.
about Bertie Mana. It comes out today. It's playing over at the Kindle. Not bad. It constructually not the best, but the story about how this guy created the most mind-boggling Ponzi scheme in the history of the financial world, the universe, and got away with it is interesting. Plus, the fella who God, I can't remember his
Fella?
name.
Did you say fella? The
This is
guy?
where I would have to
Oh. It's not in
search
the New York Times?
Times because I can't remember the guy's name. Bear with me while I turn the pages to find out
I'm not
who
gonna
this
help.
guy. Yeah, well, nah, I hate it when you do that, man. It's like I'm floundering.
This dead air is produced by Steve.
Floundering. Yeah, can't find. Oh, there we go. Okay. Chasing Madoff, based on the book "No One Would Listen" by Harry Markopolos, who's a Boston resident, actually Whitman, Massachusetts. And this whole takedown of Bernie Madoff started here in Massachusetts. And he,
We roll.
what's interesting is that 10 years ago he was told by his boss, he's a financial advisor, finance guy, to replicate the returns that Bernie Madoff's company was getting. And so Markopolos does the math. Takes him 5 minutes, and he figures out this can't be real. This can't be right. This is the math doesn't work. We do it backwards. We do it forwards. It's
Right, and they know it within seconds.
yes. So they knew this back in 1999, but it took them. They never were given serious attention by the SEC. They never were given really serious attention by publications.
Right.
They like Forbes didn't publish it. I think the New York Times turned them down. They couldn't get the article all the way published until I think they actually got something published in the Wall Street Journal, and they thought that was going to work. But the SEC still didn't pay attention.
Yeah.
So it's not so much this incredible theft is going on in front of everyone that nobody's doing anything about.
They still don't do anything.
Yeah, well, I think towards the end of the movie they say only maybe 13 or something. Not too many people have been arrested, although Madoff has had a lot of accomplices. He says that he'd been doing this scheme since the early 90s, but they suspect that his company was never legitimate and it was founded in 1960. So possibly that long. But the amazing story is that it's about the SEC's inability to do their job. You know, and how they let the American people down, how they were supposed to protect people from this scumbag, and they didn't. And part of the movie is about Markopolis's paranoia that because he had exposed the ineptness of the SEC, that they were going to come down on him and steal the files from his house. And it turns out he's this ex-Army fellow that didn't have a problem with arming himself and knowing how people operate when something big's going to go down. You know, he says the first thing you won't have enough time to realize the hit when it's coming. You'll see the red light, and then you get the bullet, and then they'll do the double tap, and that's all. And that's all.
The thing is that the movie does a good. I mean, it sounds kind of silly when we just say it like that, but it does a good. The movie does a pretty good job of showing us that paranoia is not completely out of bounds.
And he was pretty much alone. Him and the couple other guys at his company, a couple of other friends that were. You know, this was not a formidable force. It was kind of a group of friends that, banded together and realized that they had to stand up for something right. They really didn't have, an organization. It was just how loud can you scream this?
Right.
And not put yourself and your family in jeopardy. But they inevitably, Madoff knew that everything that he did was going to come crashing down. So it's like there's still the problem with the SEC.
Yeah.
There's still their ineptitude is all the way up until the day I think he, Madoff turned himself in.
And
he needed to turn himself in.
And you also get the feeling of watching it, there's another Bernie Madoff out there someplace.
Oh, sure.
Doing the same
Sure.
shit.
The film is dedicated to those who will lose their money in the next big market downfall.
Imagine if we had money to invest. Imagine that. I wouldn't invest it in Ponzi schemes.
It does say something about the very corrupt atmosphere of Wall Street, and it says also something about what we learn from this, or my belief is that when somebody is given a jar full of cookies, and they will take the cookies. If you have access, even people that that we trust, we think we can trust. They'll still take money from a jar full of money
or cookies.
Sadly, and the other entities that were involved with this still haven't been brought to to justice. I mean, we're talking like Chase Bank.
Yeah. Well, the
screw up company of them all that charges people insane interest rates for their mistakes.
I think the lesson.
And I'm speaking personally in terms of a credit card interest rate change on me.
I think the lesson anyone can take from the Bernie Madoff story is that if they want to invest in something, they should click the donate button on the Post Movie Podcast and invest in us.
Well, that would be great. We've never even mentioned that, and I feel so guilty about having like a donate button.
Send us money.
Remember it's there.
I don't know if you remember this. Remember National Lampoon used to have a magazine?
Yeah.
And they
don't. If you told me they did, I'd believe you.
See,
still doesn't. It doesn't exist, huh?
No, but it used to, and they used to have an ad. They had a dog, a picture of a dog, and they had a gun to the dog's head, and they were like, "Buy a subscription, or we'll kill this dog." It was the funniest thing. Nice. So, although we won't kill the dog, we could use your not subscriptions. We will provide the service either way. But if you enjoy what you hear.
I put that thing up there. I'm like, oh man, this is totally going to turn people
Everyone
off.
does it. Buy us a beer, or
I don't know how to do this right.
Someday someone will hear this and say, "My God, I'll pay him to shut up." If you pay us enough, we will. It's a lot, though. It takes a lot to shut us up.
Yes, we just want to keep on talking more.
No.
Man, you know what they also provided with this week? The unknown entity of wherever these things fall from the heavens. I don't know, but this one came from MGM. And it is Captain America, the 1992 version with Matt Salinger.
I watched it last night.
I mean, this guy must be thinking, Jesus, my dad just died, and now this thing comes back to haunt me. He's J.D. Salinger's son.
Is he?
Yes, he is.
It's not in the extras. There are no extras.
I don't know so much about his acting career, but yeah, he's J.D. Salinger's son.
That's not even. They don't even have that in the box.
I don't think he's doing promotion for this
No,
film. I don't think there's any.
I don't think he's
sort
going to
of
get a
feature.
dime from it. I got a feeling they said, "Hey, there's this other Captain America movie coming out. We got anything we can cash in on quick?"
This is from the dark age of comic book
But,
adaptations.
You know, I had fun watching
Albert Pune, I think, directed this. One of the worst directors of all time. The guy who made Cyborg with Van Damme.
And
Nemesis.
It was
Just
a
the worst
Menachem
movies.
Golem production.
Yeah.
Remember Golem Globus?
Golem Globus. Yeah, I remember those
See that,
films.
you'd be like, "Oh,
I think
yeah,
Chuck Norris,
this is going to
you
be
know,
awesome."
Missing in Action.
All of them.
I think he produced the Superman 4, didn't he? Put
Quest
the
for
money to
Peace?
that Quest for Peace, yeah.
That was the best of the series.
This,
Not.
I have not watched it yet.
Oh, then let's save it because you're
No,
gonna
we'll talk about
you're gonna relish that moment
Next week.
The moments you spend.
A couple of other things that just came out. The Conspirator. And man, you know what?
What?
Let's end it with this. I sat through on Saturday nearly 5 hours of Cleopatra at the Harvard Film Archive. You know, for the complete Joseph L. Mankiewicz series, which has been running at the archive for the past month. And they have another week to go. So next week they're showing Julius Caesar, The Quiet American, and
Have you ever seen Julius
Letter
Caesar?
to the Three Wives. No, I haven't. With Brando, have not seen it.
Wait, there's got one of the world's most famous gaffes. There's one of the Roman senators is wearing a Timex watch. So keep an eye out for that, kid.
Well, you know, there is a scene in Cleopatra where Elizabeth Taylor leans over Richard Burton, who has just done himself in as, oh God, who does he play? Mark Anthony, right? And you could see, I swear, you can see the zipper in the back of her dress.
That was
You know, it's ancient Egypt, but it's early '60s ancient Egypt.
yeah. I see.
And this movie is so much about production design. I can't even say production design.
It's all
It's a
about Miss Tits
beautiful
and her new
looking film,
boyfriend.
Oh my God! You know, if I was like on the production team of this movie, if I was in the office at 20th Century Fox, I'd stand up in the meeting and say, "Is anybody worried about pacing? Anyone? Is this something we maybe want to discuss?" I mean,
and you laugh
holy
because
crap.
I've seen this movie about 6 times, and like you said, that's
Seriously.
a full day. That's more than a full day of watching Cleopatra.
It was supposed to be a 6-hour film. It was supposed to actually be 2 3-hour films.
That'd be awesome.
It was supposed to be Cleopatra and Julius Caesar,
right?
Rex Harrison, and then Cleopatra and Mark Anthony. And Fox said, "Nah, we can't do this." So they
Because they've mortgaged.
well, there was a
everything,
regime
yeah.
change or something with Daryl Zanuck or something at the studio, and then since they decided that they were going to make it 1 4.5-hour film, Mankiewicz and cohorts went back to film another 45 minutes of the film, and so they've been working on it for years. I think
That's-
Martin Landau said that he'd been working on it for a year or so at least.
Even though
Hume Cronin.
you spent almost 5 hours at the
Yeah, they had the
archives,
overture, they had the introduction, the overture, the intermission,
and then the entr'acte.
Yeah.
You know, when it comes
Everything.
back. But
the complete edit.
you're missing all the I've got the set I've got has another disc of extras, including all the history of the
That I would like to
scandals
see,
and
but the
everything
reason I
else.
really wanted to see this because the story of the making of the film is more entertaining, I think, than the film itself.
Oh yeah, and this is where Burton and Taylor met and started their affair, and it was getting more coverage than the movie.
He was known as a guy that basically made love to every every one of his female co-stars in every one of his films, and this one just kind of went, publicly through the roof because he was getting it on with Elizabeth Taylor, and 20th Century Fox wanted to take advantage of that in terms of the marketing. And
I mean, production would stop for today because their trailer was rocking. You know, that's the kind of gossip. It was just
he's a
such
man's
trash.
man, man. He's
He
the
was
man
back
that
then,
men
you
want to
know?
be, and the men that women want.
Something like that. Anyway, it's
Something like
it's a hoot. I still think it's a hell of a way to waste 5 hours.
50 years later, Steve Head says Rex Harrison was miscast.
Yeah.
It was not a good idea.
Yes. Well, he was
There's nothing
miscast in-
sexy
in
about
almost
that.
Everything. Yeah. Oh, Roddy McDowall wasn't miscast.
Apparently, they had filmed so much stuff that Roddy McDowall's character just had a huge, they gutted his character.
Because it couldn't go over the 5-hour limit.
Yeah, something like that, man. But
You know-
there was some creepy stuff, and I liked the. This was in no way edited for action. The way they did action
no.
with bad sound effects back then was just
There's action in
laughable.
this movie? The most action to me is watching Liz Taylor cross the room.
And the number of extras that they use and the just the ornateness of this film, the
And this
lavishness of it is almost like appalling. And
This
you were
was
talking to
19
me about the entrance of Cleopatra when
Yeah.
she comes to what was
The
it, Rome?
parade?
Yeah.
And you have to remember, this was 1961. They didn't have computers.
Oh, 62, John. Yeah. I got you.
Well, this says 63, actually.
Well, it was filmed in 62.
Okay.
Released in 63. So
I
we're
was
both
4.
wrong.
I was 4. But they didn't have computers, so if they had 10,000 extras, they had 10,000 extras.
And they were just so
They built
worried
that
about getting the
barge.
lines right.
they
you
built
know?
that barge.
That was pretty cool. Yeah, that was awesome.
Yeah.
How you take her land from Egypt and you step onto the barge and you are technically in Egypt, subject to her rule.
Yeah.
I think my favorite part was where she made Burton kneel.
Yeah. It was not the first
Anthony
time.
had to.
Anyway,
It's such an egotistical power struggle. All this crap that's going on in the film, just lots of talking.
yeah.
That's
so cool.
what Mankiewicz liked to write that shit.
But, it's a
I
train
don't think he'd be
wreck. It's
happy
one of
with
my
me saying that.
favorite
I don't
train
think
wrecks.
he'd-
Huh?
It's not. It's not. I'm sure you can learn a lot of stuff from this, but wow, it takes an effort. It's an effort. You saw it 6 freaking times. How does that happen?
Not back to back, but it came out when I was 4. I
Sure.
probably saw it first time when I was like 5. No,
Yeah.
I remember seeing it at
Rated G.
you
you could go.
Thank goodness. Yeah, when I was 5. Dad, take me to see Cleopatra again. I have to see it 6 times before I meet with Steve in 2011.
I'm gonna. I want to get that disc and check out the.
I'll
other
see if
stuff
I've
in the
got it.
making.
I might have.
Fox
might
came
have
out
worn
with
it
a
out.
2-disc set a couple of
Yeah.
years ago.
Yeah, it was the same. It's like in a gray plastic box. So I just watched the French Connection. It was the same kind of re-release for the French Connection. 2-disc set in that crappy gray plastic box.
Man, I think we're good.
Yeah.
we gotta. Let's put it.
Promise
away.
me you'll put up a picture of Cleopatra on the website for
I'll
this
find
issue.
something.
Yeah.
I really. Elizabeth Taylor, man. She was.
Have you ever seen?
She had so much freaking power in this film. She had director approval, and she was only going to do this if Mankiewicz or I forget the name of the other director was going to do it. And this, to me, was an example of just actors gone nuts. I mean, early Hollywood studio execs worried about actors getting too much power and how that would be the downfall of the studio.
She was a prime example.
this
She
was
almost
an
destroyed the
perfect-
studio.
They ended up having to sell off half the backlot because of the damn movie's
Have
failure.
you seen any other Burton Taylor movies?
Not that immediately come to mind.
Who's Afraid of Virginia Woolf?
Oh shit! Yes.
Oh my
Okay.
God! But they also did a bunch of them, and they were all pretty crappy. But Virginia Woolf is Who's Afraid of Virginia Woolf is one of the all-time classic because they're both just drunk and she's fat, and they just scream at each other for
He's
2
a drinker,
hours.
man.
Mike Nichols reined them in, made that movie. That movie it'll scar your young little minds, listeners.
Well, Harvard, I had to see it, on the big screen like that.
Yeah.
And they only showed it once, but they've got A Letter to the Three Wives and Julius Caesar and The Quiet American coming next Thursday, Friday, Saturday. So maybe back for that. So check it out if you're in Boston,
Cambridge.
Boston, Cambridge, Somerville.
And we're in Brookline
check it out.
signing off for this
Get
week.
on over to the Harvard Film Archive. Shall
Yeah,
we?
we're
Yeah,
done.
let's. Yeah, it's over. John, it's over.
Let's drag this show behind the curtain and put a bullet in it.
All of our episodes are online at post-movie.net. But more importantly, well, you can listen to our stuff there. But more importantly,
Send
let
us
us
money.
know what you send us money. Let us know what you think of the show. You can send us an email. We're at contact@post-movie.net. We don't get tons of emails. We actually do get email, and we will respond to it if you send us. John, you just dropped the mic.
I
Everything
was
cool?
rock starring it. Okay, we're back.
So send us just let us know what you think. Because we take criticism seriously, probably too
And we
seriously.
take it pretty well too.
Right. Well, no cowering and crying like that.
No.
All of our episodes are online, post-movie.net. We're also on Facebook, and we do updates on Facebook, so check it out and like it if you like it. And leave us every episode I'm saying, leave us in a review on iTunes, which would be cool. But, it's like, if you like it, if you like hearing the conversation, leave us
Money.
leave us a review. Truth is good. If you dig it, do it. We'd appreciate it. If not, that's the way it goes. But it ups the profile. It actually, it makes, we don't have fancy artwork for the site, so it just makes it higher visibility or something like that. If we ever get that, it's kind of depressing, but whatever. If you want to leave us a review, cool. Just send us an email. John, you're what?
There's nothing to say. I thought we already signed off.
No, well, it's like now I'm thinking, wow, got through this whole show without any edits, and now I'm going to have to edit something at the end of this. But you know,
No, don't bother.
I won't.
It's not like I'm going to say a swear word again.
You didn't. You were swearless. Did you swear
I
in this?
lead a swearless life.
Oh, very good. I'm impressed. I got to do that. I swear too much.
We should have a swear jar.
Yeah.
Every time we could play a drinking game, or listeners could play a drinking game. Every time Steve swears, take a shot.
Do it.
And every time I make an off-color reference to hookers, which usually
There was no porn or hookers in this episode.
Really?
It didn't happen, I guess. Right?
I did call Liz Taylor Miss Tits, but everyone did back then. Anyway.
Until next week. Until next week. This is the Post Movie Podcast. I'm Steve Head.
I'm John Black.
So long, everybody.
Good doodle-doo.